Welcome back to Confront Your Mind. I'm Jolynn,
I'm Tiffany. Join us as we talk about how to confront the uncomfortable in life,
while also allowing space for laughter as we learn.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Today, you're going to introduce, aren't you?
Yeah, I can
Go
introduce.
for it.
Today we're talking about intuition.
And please bear with us because we're a little tired this morning.
Yes.
We got up early to record, and
Yes.
it's a rainy morning, and we're also both not drinking caffeine right now.
Yes. Yes. To all of this.
Yes.
And it's also, we're recording on a day we don't usually record. And we both have work later. So this is a new experience for us.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure we'll be doing it again.
We'll see how it goes. We've got our little peppermint tea.
Exactly. So
It's kind of nice. It wakes you up a little bit.
Yeah, when I decided to go off caffeine, I was like, what's the best herbal tea
What'll really shock me.
that gives you the same effect? And it said ginger or peppermint tea.
Oh, like you looked it up.
No, I looked it up because I was like, I need something.
Yeah,
But
that's funny.
yeah, so cheers to that. But this week we're talking about intuition. And so it's kind of going to be like a 2-part series where we're going to do intuition this week and then we're going to do intrusion the next week. I was reading in the book The Mountain Is You by Brianna
Love
Weiss.
that book so much.
Love that book. And it has this section on intuitive thoughts versus intrusive thoughts. And I was just like, wow, I really like this and would want to explore this deeper. And so I talked to Tiffany about it and we were like, let's do that for the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And so there you go. This is how we got here. That sounded so not enthusiastic, but I am excited about it.
Yeah,
Because I definitely saw it and I was like, oh, that's so and it's such an interesting differentiation. And so we're going to
That's important too.
Yeah, definitely. And so so we'll start with intuition and then next week we'll talk about intrusion.
And then kind of bring them together and talk about more so the differences between them.
Yeah, exactly. So, but as always, we'll start with a definition. Would you like to define intuition for us, Tiff?
I'd love to. So intuition is a thing that one knows or considers likely from instinctive feeling rather than conscious thinking. And there was actually another definition too that I wanted to read.
Find it, girl.
Because the ability to understand something immediately without the need for conscious reasoning. I liked that one too.
I like that.
Mm-hmm. But I just like how it talks about how you don't need conscious thinking or conscious reasoning.
Yeah.
Because it just, whenever I think about intuition, I think about the subconscious mind. And so think the fact that it says not conscious, subconscious,
Mm-hmm.
So I think that really resonates with me.
Yeah, I agree. I liked how it talked about it's an instinctive feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like you were saying, a gut feeling.
Intuition. Yep. It's an instinctive feeling, so it comes from instincts.
Yep.
There we go.
Yeah, it comes from your instinct, and it's like that. Jolynn was saying it's like that gut reaction of or a gut feeling kind of.
Yeah, that's another reason why we're doing.
I hate the word gut. It bothers me.
I like the word gut. It's like gut health. That's what I think of. I'm like, yeah, gut health, woohoo. But intuition and intrusion are both gut reactions or in very much immediate reactions. And so knowing the difference is really important because one can be more harmful, whereas one can be a lot more helpful. And so we're going to focus on the more helpful one today, which is intuition. And so I think starting with that definition, knowing too that intuition is based in instincts, which is a part of a primal part of you, which helps keep you safe, helps keep you alive, helps you survive.
Yeah.
Which I think is so cool to think back about how even our what
are you about to say? Our what?
Our ancestors of the ages were
oh, there you go.
There you go.
Ancestors of the ages. I knew it was gonna be something funny.
Ancestors of the ages were relied a lot on intuition And I
That's
feel
probably
like,
true.
and I think it's like something that's like just become so overlooked now is like we just ignore our intuition a
Well, we've
lot.
got all these like resources and
Right.
tech and stuff, and now we don't have to use that to survive.
Mm-hmm.
It makes us kind of dumb, I feel.
Yeah, so that's why it's important.
Yeah.
But I would like to talk about like,
Oh, can I say something on that point?
yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, can I just
did
interrupt?
not like how I was
Yeah.
introducing my story.
Well, I was just gonna say it made me think of whenever you said that, like how we always talk about like the mind and body connection, and like
Yes.
how I feel like the more time has gone on, like we as people like have become more and more disconnected with our bodies because like it's not as important to survival.
Yeah.
And then I mean what you're talking about, like gut health and all that, it's like we wonder why we have a lot of these issues, whether it's like physical or mental. And I feel like a lot of it is that there's such a huge disconnect between like the brain and the body. And I think intuition like is a big part of that.
Yeah, I agree. I was actually thinking like in the book, Brianna always talks about like that's how it really introduces it is how it is like a mind and body connection and how like it's those base instincts that keep us safe that kind of tell us like in which direction we should like turn our lives.
I mean,
And
there's a reason it's called gut feeling because it's
Yeah.
like in your body and
Exactly.
then it tells your brain.
Yeah. Well, I think I remember you talking about in one episode about how like 80% of our nervous system is in our
Oh,
gut.
yeah, that's insane.
Yeah. I was like, whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Because it's like, because you think of your nervous system like, oh, like, well, I guess, yeah, you think of your nervous system, you think of like brain and spinal cord, but you don't really think about the nervous system that's in your gut, which just goes to show how disconnected we have become from it.
Exactly. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah,
like,
tell us about your thoughts on intuition.
yeah. When I think about, I feel like I'm reading off a speech. When I think about intuition, and we were talking about this earlier, and I was like, I don't know how to make things short and sweet whenever we like type out like what we're gonna talk about beforehand, and so I write down these whole like paragraphs, and then I'm like looking at it, I'm like, oh my gosh.
It's like very formal.
Yeah, it's like when I think about intuition, comma, and. But I think about those like gut instincts that are very calm, like the ones that are more soothing. And I think for a long time, I thought intuition was like this more like thing that was like, don't do this or don't do that, like kind of kept you in like a rigid boundary. But in reality, I think intuition is that gentle voice that kind of guides you along a path of fulfillment.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, which I think it's like when we look at people who are like really happy in life or really satisfied or fulfilled, I think they're people that are like very aligned with their intuition and like their base gut like instincts.
Yeah. I like how you said it's calm too.
Yeah.
Like it's more of that peaceful. Like a lot of times it's like a peaceful feeling, or like when you follow it, it gives you a peaceful feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's what I wrote down. It's like it's that gentle guiding voice that tells you when something is right for you, which is like nice to think about like in that sense, because I'm like, okay, well, if something's right for me, it's going to be like a quiet, gentle, like nudging voice that just pushes me on this path. And I think when I think about my life and the decisions that I've made, like going to like get my master's in counseling, like that was one of those things like I didn't necessarily plan for, but I had like a lot of like peace about it. Like there wasn't a part of me that was like doubting it. And so like if I got it, I was like, I'll be okay, like, and so that's kind of, I feel like that intuition part where it's like there's a part of you that knows like when things are gonna be okay.
Yeah,
that's true. I think of it as like that part, like this may sound weird, but it's like that motherly part of you, that nurturing part of you.
Yeah, no, I like the way that's a really good way of describing it.
Yeah. What about you, Tiff?
For me, I feel the same way. I'm like the way I wrote this.
For me.
But yeah, no, I feel like intuition is kind of like you were saying, like a large part of what, guides me gently, I guess. And, in some of my decisions. And for me, I think whenever I think about intuition, I also think largely about like whenever you know, we talk about like first impressions with people, and I think about like people in relationships and how, you know, there's been times where like I feel like I didn't really listen to my intuition whenever like, you know, a relationship like with anybody like didn't feel right. Like I'm like, no, like I like this person. Like this is like a good friendship or a good whatever, you know, like you like go against your intuition, but it's like your intuition is telling your intuition is telling you that like maybe it's not such a good friendship. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And you
That
know,
was funny.
but on a serious note, like I really do feel sorry, I'm so not feeling quite right this morning, and that look you gave me was just funny. Okay,
That was a funny look.
but no, I think about it
like this.
I think about it. I just think about it a lot with like relationships, because I also have talked prior about how like I used to always think, you know, like a first impression, like that I was being too like hard on people or whatever. And that is true. That is true. But sometimes like it is founded in something that's like correct. And so it can be like, it can be your intuition that's like, you know, but you know, we'll go more into it next time, but it's like you have to kind of balance like, is this, you know, like a past problem coming up where like I shouldn't be feeling this way, or is this like true intuition? But kind of like we're saying, like part of that is like, does it feel peaceful? Do you need to say something?
Yes.
Please stop me, because I need something to cut me off.
I was gonna say, one of my colleagues at work, she studies like the vagus nerve theory. I'm probably saying it wrong.
Yeah.
It's not vagus nerve. It is
Yeah,
ventral
the vagus
vagal.
nerve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, I looked at it a little bit and like I was like, I think it's really cool. I just haven't like spent a lot of time looking at it. And I listened to a podcast on it, the vagus nerve, and it was Deb Dana was in it, and it's on the AAMFT podcast. And there you go. And it talks about the vagus nerve and how like your body like checks for safety in like 3 different ways, and I can't remember the other 2, but they're a lot more like palpable, like you can touch and feel them and like see them. The other one is like this like invisible connection to people, like checking in.
That's
like
so cool.
It's so cool. It's like your nervous system, like right now, like my nervous system checks in with your nervous system, and like if like you're more spiked than I'm, like my nervous system's gonna be like a lot more
like
alert.
it's like energies, like
Yeah.
you match people's energies,
And it's crazy because there's like it's actually like a third. It's called, what was it called? It's not proprioception, but it's a very similar word, but it talks about this sensation of knowing. It's very similar to intuition, but it's like this sensation of knowing before having like rational thought around it. And
That's
it's like
cool.
a way that your vagus nerve and like your like this part of your nervous system like knows and like can tell like when people are safe people versus people are like not safe people, because like our nervous systems are like constantly like assessing like, okay, is Tiffany good, is Tiffany calm, or like is Tiffany like giving like I guess bad energy, like not bad energy but like unsafe energy, you know, like you know, like stuff like that. And so it's like one of the reasons it's not just like this theory, it's actually a biological fact.
And I think that's awesome.
Hlyvagel theory, that's what it is.
Yes, you need to send me that podcast because I want to listen to it.
Oh.
You're big with the pointing today. I will do that.
I will send you the Hlyvagel theory podcast.
Yes, actually do though.
No, I will.
Okay.
I just have to find it again.
Okay. But
It was good though.
But yeah, no, I think the way you're saying is really, really cool, and I think that it kind of helps prove my point that I was struggling to prove, is that like with people it's like a huge thing, because you can like feel like that's part of intuition, is like feeling someone else's energy or like the way that they make you feel.
That's why I thought of it. It's because you were talking about people, and I was like, oh, that like connected to that part of that theory in my
I love that.
And I hadn't put 2 and 2 together. But yeah, that's really good. Because it's like, because I think intuition has been brushed off so much. Like, either I think it gets like it's mislabeled for what it is, or it's like brushed off. And like,
I agree. Because then I feel like we try to then like say we get a feeling about something, we want like to add reason to it. So then we sit there and overanalyze a situation because we have to come up with a logical a logical reason why something is like okay or not okay or right or wrong, you know?
Right.
Whereas really I think we should lean more into intuition and the way that things feel in our bodies. What's the matter?
I just thought I heard my voice crack, but
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, no, I do agree with you. I think that there's a band-aid on your foot. Oh, that's disgusting.
Ew.
Welcome to my house.
Thank you.
I bet it was from the time I stepped on glass.
It might be.
Because I put a band-aid on my foot. Anyways, but no, I agree that, like, intuition is that part that we should lean more into, but that's why it's important to know what it is and, like, how to differentiate it from intrusion, which is why we're talking about it, because I think that those get very easily confused. Because they are both, like, feelings you feel, like, in your gut.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So why is it important?
Well, for one, I think that it can simplify things sometimes. You know, like I was just now saying about tending to overanalyze and trying to find reason. And sometimes you can search for that reason and you can't quite figure it out because it's just something that you know. And so I think it can really simplify things sometimes to just listen to that intuition and go with that decision.
Yeah.
Without overanalyzing.
Right. And that's another thing that whenever you said without reason is like we live in a society now where everything needs proof. Like
exactly.
And like intuition.
You want data.
Exactly. You want data. Intuition is not something that it's like literally in the definition it just says like you know it based on gut instinct, and like gut instinct isn't something that can be like extricated from your body and be like okay, valid. Like no, like it's those things that you can't really like that like if to be held up in a court of law, like I don't know, like can't be validated.
Yeah, it's not like, well, I don't want to say it's not fact, but it's not like tangible fact.
Exactly.
And so we have trouble you know, using it in that way. But it should be able to be used in like what I put here, but what I was kind of saying earlier is that if you have a bad feeling about someone or something, I feel like sometimes that's belittled because you're like, okay, so you got a bad feeling, that doesn't mean anything, but it does.
Yeah, I agree. I used to do the same thing that you did, is like I would be very wary with people and like yeah, there's more to it, but this story just trailed off. But yeah, I used to be very wary with people, and like because of that, I'm forgetting where I'm going as I'm talking.
But sometimes you realize that you were right or something. Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's cool because you can look back. That's something I had somewhere in here there's a lot of words. I lost it. But somewhere in there, I was saying that sometimes it's really cool to look back in the past where like at a time you don't know why you made a decision. And then you can look back and see like, oh yeah, that was a really important decision. And I made it solely based off of intuition. Yeah, definitely. I like looking back and seeing stuff like that too. And like also comparing to times when you've made thoughts versus intrusion. Like we talked about earlier. Yeah, I feel like in hindsight, it's kind of easy to tell which is which. Right. I think that's like why it's important to like look at how to know the difference now. Before. Yeah. And that's something like Lee says in her book, is she says intuition is like now and helps you in the moment. And I think that's really powerful, is like it's not intuition if it's like predicting or like from this happened in the past. And so, yeah, that's a good way to differentiate it. Yeah. And she has some things in her book too that we were gonna mention, a couple of things about intuition that she says stuck out to us that we both liked. So one of the first things was intuitive thoughts are rational and grounded in reason. And so that's really important to remember too whenever we're talking about it being a feeling or a gut feeling or something that you just feel, is that sounds very, I don't know if elusive is the word that I'm looking for, but, you know, it sounds like something that's like, you're just kind of like reaching and, like, you know. Not tangible. Yeah, exactly. But it's like, this kind of reminds you that like, like those thoughts are rational and they are grounded in reason. And because like I just think it's so important to trust that intuition and to trust that like there is a reason, like that subconsciously like you feel a certain way or you feel that something is a right or wrong decision, and that it is like it does have a reason that it's there. Like it's not just some random feeling that you should ignore. It's something that should be paid attention to.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like that a lot because it's like kind of like exactly what we were saying earlier is that although it's not like necessarily something you can prove, it's still something that it doesn't mean that it's not logical or reasonable. And like therefore I see it as like something that's worth listening to and worth considering more so, honestly.
Yeah. And
Especially
it's cool because like
internal.
everybody has like their own separate, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like everybody has a different intuition, obviously. Like I'm not going to have the same like gut feelings as you. And I just think that's cool.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. Another one is that intuitive thoughts are, nope. Intuitive thoughts, I was about to read the exact same point. Intuitive thoughts often sound loving or feel like understanding. This is something that I have been trying to focus more on lately is like listening to that loving voice inside my mind and like in my body, that feeling of like understanding and peace. Instead of like trying to push forward on things, like instead of trying to listen to that voice that's like, you must move on. I have a voice that sounds like a Spartan or something like that. You must continue. Even though like you have been cut off like both limbs and or both arms. But anyways, I think it's like listening to the voice that's like, this feels good, or I love being out. Like lately my voice has been like pushing me outside and like working out, and like I mean every time I'm just like, wow, this feels like good. Like I don't regret it. It's like that voice that tells you like, hey, you're not going to regret this if you do it, you know. And it's that quiet, gentle, like just nudge of like, this is the life you want. This is where you're supposed to be, and just listening to that, which I think for me that was one of the biggest things in helping me kind of define my intuition and like hear it more and like sort of seek it out was like finding that differentiation of like it's that gentleness. It's not something that's loud or scared. It's like a very gentle, loving like push, very assuring.
That's really helpful. I feel like that is helpful in the differentiation. I'm struggling with my words today.
Same.
Another one is intuitive thoughts come from an open mind. And I like that one too, because it's just showing that it's not, I feel like, I guess we'll talk about it next time, but you know, when comparing it to intrusion, I feel like intrusion can come from a very closed-minded place. But that's all I'll say.
Yeah, I think like with intuition, if you're in that place of calm, you're going to be more open to things. You're not going to be shut down. Whereas like if you're scared, you're going to be more shut down. And so intuition is that thing that like helps guide you and like opens yourself up to like different ways of like fixing something. And then also intuitive thoughts show you how to respond. This one's also like a pretty big comparison to intrusion, but I think when I think of how to respond, I think of like what that feeling, like when you follow that like loving voice, that gut instinct that feels right. It's that one that's like, it's not reactive. It's the one that's like calm and gentle and like quiet. It's the voice that's very quiet. It's the voice that tells you to like slow down, like like, hey, you don't have to react right now. You know, it's like this will still be here, you know. It's that calmness. And so I think it's showing you like how to respond in those situations instead of how to react. You know, I think responding is that like slowed down, thoughtful, considered response that's a little bit more gentle, guided, a little bit more aligned with who you want to be as a person, is what or I guess for me, speaking for me, it's who I want to be as a person. My intuition is very much like, tells me like, slow down, you don't have to respond right now, give it time. And then like I like process and like think about what feels good for me to say, and like trying to make sure I'm like covering all the things that I want to say.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the last thing I had on here was that it's important to practice listening to these intuitive thoughts and feelings, and kind of how, we've talked about both, but how remembering that it can be a feeling, like an actual feeling in your body, to listen to, or it can be like a thought that comes into your head. So I feel like it can kind of manifest in both ways.
Yeah.
But what we talked about a while ago, doing like a body scan and checking in with yourself, and just really trying to, as much as you can, connect like your mind and body. And that's something that really helps with intuition, and like being able to hear your intuition better.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I love it when we close our laptops, because I'm like, okay, we're
That's
done.
it.
Yeah, so that's intuition, and we're excited to dig into intrusion next week and kind of sort out the differences, but also look more deeply into intrusion and intrusive thoughts, because I know we all struggle. Maybe not all of us. I'm definitely projecting right now. But
We struggle a lot with
but definitely like exploring like how to differentiate between the voice of intuition and the voice of intrusion.
Yeah. So subscribe so you don't miss next week's episode.
Yes.
And like and comment.
Subscribe. Tell us,
share your stories.
Yeah, tell us your stories about intuition. We'd love to hear them. We really would. Yeah, I think that's everything.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for listening. And remember that we're all learning.
And don't be afraid to get confrontational this week.
Keep it cute until we meet again.
You want to cheers the peppermint tea?
Absolutely.